There was an eerie calm in Munich on Saturday morning. As the Bavarian capital went into day one of its public health lockdown, there were few people out on the streets. Restaurants, bars and cafes were closed and people told to stay home. There were similar scenes all over the state, with public sentiment generally behind the measures.
I think confinement is a good idea. It's also necessary because we have to protect each other, and this is the only way we can do it.
Maybe young people have to take care of the older ones so that nobody behaves in a dangerous way. You see here that we are keeping our distance. There's nothing else you can do.
Bavarian police say they've seen only a few violations of the lockdown so far. Group gatherings are banned, but residents are allowed to go to work, do essential shopping, visit the doctor, or do exercise.
I'm doing some shopping now. Fortunately, I have a garden. I also do a lot of cycling, but I do it alone.
Bavaria's move has sparked a wider debate in Germany on whether there should be a nationwide lockdown.
Well, for more on the situation in Bavaria, DW's Bastian Hartig joins us now from the city of Munich. Hello to you, Bastian. So it's the first day of a 2-week lockdown in Bavaria. Tell us what the situation is like right now and how are people responding to the new restrictions?
Well, it's been really quiet all day today, Mariana. There's not a lot of people outside. Also, as you can see, maybe it's pretty cold and grizzly outside. It's raining. So there's not a lot of reason for people to go outside. Everything is closed, as we heard in the report. So overall, I would say that people, they are understanding of this and they are accepting of this because they do understand that this is the only thing right now, that the only possibility to slow the spread of this virus. And there were some people out today, of course, taking walks or going grocery shopping. You're still allowed to do that. It's a Saturday, so no one or a lot of people don't really have to go to work. I do have the feeling that people are understanding of this because over the last few days, especially when the weather was really nice and warm, there were a lot of people outside, especially in the parks and along the river. And so the population did see that these appeals for people to stay at home weren't really working. And that's why the government put in place these more drastic measures. And I think it's slowly sinking in. And people are more disciplined now than they were just a few days ago, I think, especially if you go to the supermarkets, for example, everyone's keeping their distance. So at the moment, this is working well. And people are not only accepting, they're also welcoming this. Mariana.
All right, Bastian Hartig reporting for us from Munich. Thank you so much for the update. Well, here in Berlin, authorities have so far taken a less stringent approach to public spaces when it comes to battling the virus. They've only shut down some places like playgrounds. Parks, though, have remained open, but they were much less popular on a mostly sunny day in the German capital. Officials have threatened a much wider crackdown should too many people flout the advice to stay mostly indoors. Well, let's bring in DW political correspondent Nina Hase, who can talk to us about the wider implications for Germany. So, Nina, as we've been saying, there isn't a lockdown here in Berlin, at least not yet, even though it is Germany's largest and most densely populated city. Why is that?
I would say precisely because it is Germany's most densely populated city. And frankly speaking, infringing on people's rights in such a drastic way, confining them to their homes, is easier for politicians to do if you know that your population lives in big spaces, that people have homes with gardens, etc., where they can still be outdoors, for example. And in Berlin, this is just not the case. The vast majority of Berliners live in small flats, and experts have warned of a potential rise in child abuse, in domestic abuse, in domestic violence, and also all sorts of other implications, such as a potential rise in suicide rates from loneliness. So it's not an easy decision to take. Having said that, now that states like Bavaria have adopted such strict measures, we could also see a chain reaction.
Well, Nina, the German government has been saying it's going to be monitoring people's behavior today to determine whether the national government will impose stricter measures. So what exactly are government officials, authorities looking at?
Well, many people saw Angela Merkel's TV address on Wednesday evening as sort of the last warning shot, where she urged Germans to stay at home, practice social distancing, etc., and appeal to them to just act responsibly and not help spread the virus. But then the feeling that this was the last warning shot was reinforced when her chief of staff, Helge Braun, came out and spoke to the media and said, look, Saturday is going to be decisive. We are going to look at whether possibly more stringent measures will be necessary because people just continue meeting in public. And so today, Germans will be watched by all sorts of officials, and then Angela Merkel will talk to the state premiers on Sunday, midday, to discuss whether more drastic measures need to be taken.
Well, the coronavirus epidemic is not just a health crisis, it's also an economic crisis with so many closures of businesses. And now Germany's finance minister says the government is preparing a supplementary budget of 150 billion euros. Now, Nina, is this going to be enough, assuming we could be in this crisis for a long time?
It's not just this supplementary budget, though, that the government is adopting. They also have a rescue package for companies that's worth 600 billion euros. And some experts are saying that all the measures combined together amount to about 1.2 trillion euros. So the finance and economics ministers have said that they're going to put all weapons on the table to keep the economy afloat and to keep the country going. And now they're trying to prove that they're really putting their money where their mouth is.
All right, DW political correspondent Nina Haase, thank you very much. Well, despite the increasingly strict measures aimed at curbing the spread of coronavirus, new cases and deaths from the infection are on the rise in many parts of the world. In Spain, 1,378 people have now died due to the virus. The country is third in the number of infections behind China and Italy at nearly 25,000. Vietnam has barred nearly all foreigners from entering the country and shut down inbound international air travel. Meanwhile, the Africa Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says the number of cases on the continent has topped 1,000. And Switzerland has reported a 25% jump in coronavirus cases in a single day, with infections at just over 6,000.